At 11:42 p.m., the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, Harper Lane's phone lit up with a message sharp enough to slice through the dark. Mom, you're banned from Thanksgiving until you apologize, idiot. No call, no explanation. Just a single, cruel sentence, ending a tradition Harper had paid for quietly for years. She stared at the screen for a moment, not shocked, just done. And instead of texting back, instead of begging for clarity or respect, Harper did something she'd never done before. She opened her banking app. Her thumb hovered only a second before she began shutting down everything her family depended on: utilities, the family phone plan, the internet bill, the credit card auto payments, even the mortgage buffer she'd been covering for months. One by one, the payments vanished. By 12:07 a.m., her financial silence echoed louder than any apology they thought they were owed. 3 days later, while her family carved turkey, posted matching sweater photos, and toasted the best holiday ever, Harper's phone began buzzing like an alarm trapped underwater. 101 missed calls. Her mother, her father, Dylan, the golden boy cousin, aunts, uncles, people who hadn't spoken to her in months suddenly checking in. She didn't answer a single one. Harper sat on her couch, a blanket over her legs, steaming mug of tea warming her hands, and felt something she hadn't felt in years: control. Because Thanksgiving wasn't the beginning of her exile. It was the final proof of a truth she'd ignored too long. She wasn't a daughter in that family. She was a resource, and for the first time, Harper Lane had finally unplugged the power supply. Long before the Thanksgiving ban, long before the 100 missed calls lit up her phone like a crisis she no longer owned, Harper Lane had already been carrying her family on her back, quietly, invisibly, consistently. It started 2 years earlier, when her dad's surgery bill came in far higher than insurance covered. Harper was 25, working 2 jobs, living in a studio apartment the size of a storage unit. But when her mom called crying, "We might lose the house, Harper. Please, sweetheart, just this once," she didn't hesitate. She wired the money. That once became a monthly expectation. Before long, Harper wasn't just helping. She was funding everything: the family phone plan under her name, the internet linked to her card, electric bills set to autopay, water, trash, gas split across her accounts, her dad's medication co-pays charged to her card just until payday, groceries whenever her mom texted a guilt-laced, "We're tight this month." Her cousin Dylan, crowned the golden boy since birth, drifted in and out of jobs and responsibilities like a tourist. And every time he failed, the family didn't reprimand him. They redirected the burden to Harper. Once, Dylan bragged about getting a $5,000 bonus while posting pictures of steak dinners on Instagram. That same week, Harper quietly paid their overdue electric bill so the power wouldn't shut off during a heat wave. Her mother thanked Dylan publicly for being such a provider, while Harper stared at the receipt in her inbox. Invisible, her family wasn't just relying on her, they were building their lifestyle on her discipline. Harper wasn't wealthy, but she had something no one else in the Lane family had: stability. She budgeted, she planned, she worked overtime, she skipped vacations, dinners out, new clothes, anything unnecessary, because her money never truly belonged to her. It was already spent before she earned it. Whenever she tried to set boundaries, her mother dismissed her concerns with a breezy, "Family helps family. You'll understand when you're older." Her father avoided conflict altogether, retreating into silence whenever Harper pushed back. Her aunts sent passive-aggressive texts about gratitude, and Dylan? He called her the budget cop whenever she dared to ask for repayment. Harper started feeling less like a member of the family and more like their customer service representative. If a bill was late, they messaged her. If a card declined, they called her. If Dylan overdrafted his account again, he sent her a screenshot with a shrug emoji. But the worst part wasn't the money. It was the expectation, the unspoken belief that Harper's purpose was to absorb the fallout of everyone's irresponsibility. And the more she said yes, the more they pretended she didn't exist, until the night they banned her from Thanksgiving. And Harper realized she wasn't being excluded, she was being freed. To understand why Harper was always the one paying, why she became the family's quiet anchor, you have to understand the Lane family hierarchy. It wasn't written anywhere, it wasn't spoken aloud, but it was enforced. Every single day of Harper's life. At the top sat Dylan, her cousin but practically a third sibling. He was the golden child, the family mascot raised on applause and rescued from consequences before they even reached him. Dylan failed upward with the ease of someone who'd never been told no, quit a job. Corporate didn't appreciate his talent, blew through his paycheck. He's young, let him live. Borrowed money he never repaid. He'll get to it eventually. The family's expectations bend around Dylan like gravity. Then there was Harper, the responsible one. Not because she wanted to be, but because someone had to be. From childhood, the message was clear. Dylan entertained. Harper ensured. If Dylan charmed a room, Harper cleaned up the mess afterward, literally and financially. When Dylan bragged, adults beamed. When Harper succeeded, they shrugged, offered a quiet, well, of course she did. Her accomplishments were treated like chores she crossed off a list. And when Harper dared speak up about money, fairness, or simple respect, the family reacted as if she'd disrupted a sacred ritual. You're overreacting. You always make things complicated. Why can't you be more like Dylan? They weaponized softness against her. They rewarded irresponsibility in him. Her mother adored Dylan loudly and adored Harper quietly when it was convenient. Her father pretended neutrality, but always folded to the family script. Aunts and uncles praised Dylan's potential while relying on Harper's reliability. In a family photo, Dylan was the spotlight, Harper was the foundation, and foundations aren't meant to be seen, only used, only depended on, only blamed when they cracked. So when her mother banned her from Thanksgiving, the shock wasn't that they excluded her, the shock was that, for once, they didn't expect her to hold everything together. Harper Lane always assumed that if she just stayed quiet long enough, worked hard enough, and helped often enough, her family would eventually see her. Maybe not celebrate her, but at least acknowledge her place at the table. That illusion shattered the moment she opened the family group chat. It was supposed to be the annual Thanksgiving headcount. Names rolled down the screen like an RSVP list to an event Harper practically funded every year. Mom, Dad, Aunt Patrice, Uncle Ray, Dylan's girlfriend, 2 extra cousins. Harper's name never appeared. She waited, refreshing the chat, scrolling up, scrolling down, telling herself it must be a mistake. Finally, she typed, "Did you forget me?" The typing bubbles appeared instantly, multiple people in the chat reading, reacting. Then Dylan replied first, because of course, he did. Limited seating. Try Christmas if you behave. A joke, a jab, a humiliation delivered with the confidence of someone who had never faced consequences. What hit harder wasn't the comment. It was the silence that followed. Mom didn't correct him. Dad didn't step in. Not a single aunt or uncle defended her, not even with a half-hearted "that's not nice." Silence was permission. Harper called her mother, heart pounding, hope fraying at the edges. The background noise of clinking dishes and laughter rushed through the line like the holiday had already begun without her. You're not invited until you apologize to Dylan for ruining his promotion dinner, her mother said flatly. Ruining it? Harper asked. By asking why he keeps borrowing rent money while bragging about his sales bonus. In the background, Uncle Ray chimed in, mocking her. There she goes again, budget cop. Laughter erupted. Harper didn't laugh. She felt the heat crawl up her chest, dignity cracking under the weight of everyone's amusement. So she delivered one clean truth. If you want me to stop talking about money, stop using my debit card for your bills. Silence. A door slammed on their end. The call disconnected. Hours later, her mother sent the infamous text, "You're banned from Thanksgiving until you apologize, idiot," and a follow-up, "Your plate will be on the porch." A plate left outside like scraps. That was the moment Harper realized she hadn't lost her place in the family. She'd never had one, and this time, instead of begging for a seat, she walked away from the entire table. The morning after Thanksgiving, Harper woke to a phone buzzing with missed calls, over 100 of them now, but not a single message that sounded like remorse. Only panic, only demands, and for the first time in her life, Harper didn't flinch. She slid her phone face down on the table, opened her laptop, and pulled up her banking history. Months of transactions stared back at her, dozens of auto payments, transfers, grocery charges, emergency deposits, medical copays, payments she had made quietly. Payments her family pretended didn't exist. Payments they felt entitled to. She whispered to herself, "Not anymore." Harper opened a blank document. At the top, she typed, "Financial record, Lane family, dependency." Then she began listing everything. 312 point for $7 dad's medication refill. $189.0 family phone plan. $427.83 late electric bill. $760.0 mortgage buffer after dad's surgery. $73.55. Groceries for mom. $600.0. Dylan's temporary loan. $600.0 again. $600.0. Again, line after line, month after month, year after year. Her fingers moved faster the longer she typed. Her chest tightened as the total climbed thousands of dollars she'd patched into the foundation of a house that refused to claim her as family. By the time she printed everything, she had a binder 2 inches thick. Each receipt equals a memory. Each transfer equals a sacrifice. Each bill equals a version of herself she'd lost trying to keep them afloat. When Harper finally closed the binder, she wasn't shaking. She felt steady, grounded, certain. For years, they made her feel dramatic whenever she brought up money. For years, they painted her as controlling, difficult, ungrateful. But the binder didn't lie. This wasn't drama. It was data, evidence of a truth she could no longer unsee. Harper Lane hadn't been part of a family. She had been financing one. By Sunday morning, Harper's binder sat on her kitchen table like a verdict. Thick, heavy, undeniable. But knowing the truth wasn't enough. She needed a plan. So Harper called the one person who had never once taken advantage of her, Grace Holloway, her mentor at work. Grace was the kind of woman who carried calm the way others carried perfume, warm and unmistakable. When she answered the phone, Harper's voice cracked before she could speak. "Meet me at the caf," Grace said instantly. An hour later, Harper slid into the wooden booth across from her. Sunlight striped the table. A coffee machine hissed in the background. Grace approached the binder with the seriousness of someone handling court documents, which, in a way, they were. Page by page she read. Bills, transfers, autopay screens, Dylan's Venmo requests, hospital invoices, months of financial bruises Harper had covered without ever asking for thanks. When Grace finally looked up, her expression was soft but firm. "Harper, this isn't support," she said. "This is dependence. And you're the only one holding everything up." Harper swallowed hard. "I didn't want to abandon them." "You're not abandoning them," Grace said. "You're stopping them from abandoning you." Those words landed in a place Harper didn't know she'd been wounded. Grace pulled out her tablet and began outlining steps in clean, practical strokes. 1. Revoke all automatic payments. Tonight, she emphasized. 2. Remove your card from every shared account. No exceptions. 3. Separate the phone plan. Move your number to an individual plan so they can't use it to access your information. 4. Change passwords. All banking, email, utilities, even social media. You have no idea what they've learned to rely on. 5. Document everything. Screenshots, dates, copies if anything escalates. You'll need a clean paper trail. 6. Prepare for backlash. Grace's voice softened. When people lose access to your labor, they call it betrayal. Harper nodded slowly. She already knew. On the drive home, her hands trembled not with fear, but with clarity. She opened her banking app and followed Grace's checklist step by step. Mortgage autopay, disabled. Electric bill, removed. Phone plan, transferred to her own name. Internet, canceled. Shared accounts, locked down. Every click felt like a door closing. Every confirmation felt like reclaiming a piece of herself. She didn't know she'd given away. By the time she finished, her apartment was quiet. Not the lonely kind of quiet, the peaceful kind. For the first time in years, Harper Lane belonged to herself. The first sign came at 6:12 a.m. Monday morning. Harper's phone buzzed once. "Dad, hey, weird question. Did the electric company change their billing system?" She didn't reply. By 8:47 a.m., the panic had fully bloomed. "Mom, the mortgage didn't clear. Call me now, Dylan. Bro, why is the phone plan messed up? Fix it. Aunt Patrice, your mother is hysterical. Whatever you did, undo it." Harper sipped her coffee, letting the messages stack like a deck of overdue consequences. By 10 o'clock a.m., the family group chat, which had excluded her only days before, was now exploding with her name. "Harper, can you explain? This must be a mistake. Where did the autopay go? The internet's down and Dylan works from home. Your mother is in tears." Harper almost laughed. Her mother cried when the Wi-Fi went out. but not when she banned her own daughter from Thanksgiving. At 11:19 a.m., her dad called again 3 times in a row. She let all three ring out, then the text arrived that told her everything she needed to know. "Dad, can you just help us this month like usual? Dylan said he'll pay you back." There it was. The family logic. Harper's labor was invisible. Until it stopped. When she didn't respond, the messages shifted from confusion to frustration. "Mom, this is childish. We are family. Dylan, you're ruining things on purpose. And Patrice, we all have responsibilities. Be mature." Responsibilities. Harper almost choked on the irony. She opened their messages like slides in a presentation. Mom demanding money. Dad apologizing for Dylan's behavior but never confronting him. Dylan promising repayment that never came. Aunts praising Dylan while depending on Harper's paycheck, and not one message acknowledging the text that started it all. "You're banned from Thanksgiving, idiot," by mid-afternoon. The panic escalated into full desperation. "Mom, if the mortgage doesn't clear again, we could lose the house. Don't do this to us." Harper stared at the screen. "You did this to yourselves," she thought, but she wrote nothing, because silence wasn't weakness anymore. Silence was a boundary, and for the first time, her family finally felt what life looked like without Harper Lane holding everything together. On Wednesday evening, Harper finally agreed to come over, not to fix anything, not to resume her role, but to show them what she had carried. She walked into her parents' house with a binder tucked under her arm and a calmness she didn't recognize. Not quiet submission this time. It was clarity. The kitchen looked smaller than she remembered, dimmer, as if the weight of the unpaid bills had physically shrunk the room. Her mother sat at the table with her, hands clasped so tightly her knuckles whitened. Her father hovered at the counter, exhausted, eyes hollow. Dylan lounged against the doorway like he owned the place, smirking until he saw the binder. Then the smirk cracked. Harper set the binder gently on the table. "This stays between us," she said softly. "No aunts, no cousins, no audience." Her father cleared his throat first. He always tried to sound reasonable, even when he wasn't. "We thought Dylan was helping," he murmured. Harper flipped open the binder to the first page. "Mortgage payments. He told you that because I was paying," she said. "Every month. Right here." She slid the statement toward them. Her mother's breath caught. Page after page, Harper revealed the truth. Prescription costs, grocery receipts, electricity when the bill bounced, truck tires for her father, phone plan charges, internet fees, emergency deposits, 3 years of covering their gapture. Mother's hands trembled as she turned each page, like she was touching something radioactive. "You banned me from Thanksgiving," Harper said quietly. "But I paid for the holiday you enjoyed without me." Her father swallowed hard. "We didn't know. You didn't want to know," Harper corrected. "It was easier to believe Dylan was your success story and I was just difficult." Dylan stepped forward, jaw tight. "You can't just dump this on them. You're leaving them with nothing." Harper laughed softly, a tired, hollow sound. "I'm leaving them with adulthood," she replied. "Which you also happen to be." His mouth opened, then closed again. She pulled out a clear sleeve and slid it across the table. Highlighted text messages, Dylan's repeated requests for money, promises to pay back, never fulfilled. He stared at the evidence, cheeks reddening. "This is betrayal," he muttered. "No," Harper said, her voice steady. "This is a boundary." The refrigerator hummed in the tight silence that followed. Her mother pressed a shaky hand to her forehead. Her father stared at the totals on the last page, eyes shining with something dangerously close to shame. "What about Christmas?" he asked finally, voice fragile. Harper met his eyes for the first time in years. "I'll see how I feel." She closed the binder, tucked it under her arm, and walked out of the house. She had kept afloat without a thank you, without a seat at the table, without a moment of recognition. The night air hit her face cold and clean. With every step toward her car, she felt something loosening inside her, a cord snapping, a weight falling off, a life shifting. For the first time, Harper wasn't the family's safety net. She was free. Harper expected anger. She expected silence. She even expected denial. What she didn't expect was how quickly her family would slip into the third stage of losing access to someone they once controlled, manipulation disguised as remorse. By the next morning, her phone lit up with messages, not the frantic, panicked ones from when the utilities failed or the mortgage bounced. No, these were polished, carefully worded, practiced even. Her mother texted first. Mom, Harper, sweetheart, we forgive you. Let's just talk things out. Families go through hard moments. Forgive you. Not we're sorry we used you. Not we banned you from Thanksgiving. Not we treated you like a wallet instead of a daughter. No, they were forgiving her, as if she were the one who had broken something. Harper read it twice. She recognized the tone immediately, the same syrupy voice her mother used when she wanted Harper to quietly cover a bill without mentioning it to anyone else. She didn't respond. 10 minutes later, another message. Mom, I didn't mean the text the way it sounded. You know, I was stressed. Please don't make this bigger than it is. There it was, the shift of blame. If Harper felt hurt, she was the dramatic one. If Harper established boundaries, she was the one making it big. Harper put the phone down. Then Dylan jumped in, first with anger. Dylan, this is insane. You embarrassed Mom and Dad. You embarrassed me. You could have talked to us privately. You love drama. Then when she didn't respond with a sudden switch to sweetness, Dylan, okay. Look, I'm sorry if things got heated. Can we just start over? The family needs you. Apology? Barely. It was the emotional equivalent of a used napkin, thin, flimsy, and tossed out as soon as he needed something. Harper didn't reply. An hour later, a voicemail from Aunt Patrice. Your mother didn't sleep last night. She's devastated. You know how sensitive she is. All she wants is her daughter back. Stop punishing them. You're better than this. Harper nearly laughed aloud at her kitchen table. Punishing them? For showing them the truth? She saved the voicemail as evidence, as validation, as a reminder of who these people really were when faced with accountability. By noon, the family group chat where Harper's name had been missing from the Thanksgiving list suddenly erupted with declarations of unity. Uncle Ray posted a quote image. Family means forgiving even when it's hard. Harper watched messages pour in. We all make mistakes. Let's move past this. Life is short, don't hold grudges. None of them mentioned the loan requests, the Thanksgiving ban, the years Harper paid their bills, or the idiot text that started it all. It was a masterclass in deflection. When guilt didn't work, they tried pity. Mom, your father feels sick with worry. He says he just wants his little girl back. When pity didn't work, they tried rewriting history. Dylan, you've always been part of the family. We never excluded you. You misunderstood things. Harper finally understood what Grace meant when she said, when people lose access to your labor, they call it betrayal. Their apologies weren't apologies. Their guilt wasn't love. Their sudden kindness wasn't healing. It was desperation. They weren't trying to rebuild the relationship. They were trying to restore the system. A system where Harper funded everything. A system where Dylan never faced consequences. A system where her mother's word was law. A system where Harper's boundaries didn't exist. For the first time in her life, Harper felt no urge to fix them. She saw through every tactic clearly, calmly, completely. Their panic wasn't about losing her. It was about losing the version of her that kept them afloat. And that version of Harper Lane? She was never coming back. For most of Harper's life, the word boundary felt like something reserved for other people, people who had parents that listened, siblings who respected limits, families who didn't weaponize guilt. In the Lane household, boundaries were treated like betrayal. Saying no meant you were ungrateful. Saying I can't meant you were selfish. Saying this hurts meant you were dramatic. But after the confrontation at the kitchen table, after the binder was opened like a financial autopsy, and after the waves of guilt, blame, and counterfeit apologies rolled in, something inside Harper clicked into place. She understood that boundaries weren't walls, they were doors, and she finally held the handle. That week, Harper felt an unfamiliar stillness settle over her life. Not the tense, anxious stillness she'd grown used to, waiting for the next urgent call or passive-aggressive text. This was a quiet that belonged to her. A quiet earned, not imposed. Her phone no longer buzzed every hour with crises that weren't hers. She didn't wake up bracing for financial disaster she didn't cause. Her mornings slowed. Her breathing deepened. Her food tasted better. For the first time in years, Harper wasn't living in reaction mode. She was living. Still, the echoes of her family's voices lingered. Old patterns, old fears. What if they cut me off completely? What if they never speak to me again? What if I'm really the problem? But every time those thoughts surfaced, Harper went back to one memory, her mother's text. One line, no hesitation. You're banned from Thanksgiving until you apologize. Idiot. That was the moment her family showed her who they truly were when she stopped being convenient, and her response turning off their access to her money, her time, and her emotional labor showed her who she could become when she started choosing herself. She kept the binder, but not as leverage anymore, not as evidence, in case they pushed back again, but as a reminder of who she had been, a daughter who took responsibility for everyone but herself, a woman who confused being needed with being loved, someone who was easier to take advantage of than to appreciate. Now, her boundaries looked different. No money loans, no shared accounts, no attending events where respect wasn't guaranteed, no responding to emotional bait disguised as apology, no more being the silent fixer. Her relationship with her father softened first. He called, voice shaky, and said something she never expected to hear. "I'm sorry we made you feel like a purse instead of a person." It didn't erase everything, but it mattered. Her mother's efforts were smaller: an invitation to dinner without conditions, a hug that lingered longer than usual. Not a full apology, but a start. And Dylan? He stayed quiet. For once, silence from him felt honest. As Harper stood in her kitchen one evening, stirring pasta for one, she caught her own reflection in the microwave door. A woman relieved, not afraid, grounded, not drained. She didn't need a new family. She needed new rules, and she finally understood. Boundaries weren't punishments. They were protection. They were peace. They were self-respect in action, and Harper Lane was done apologizing for having them. When the dust finally settled, when the bills were no longer tied to her name, when the constant buzzing of crises quieted, Harper realized something profound. She had spent years mistaking obligation for love. She believed that if she kept giving money, time, emotional labor, her family would eventually give something back. Not money, just respect, effort, acknowledgement. Instead, they mistook her generosity for duty, her silence for agreement, her reliability for permission. But Harper's story revealed a truth many people learn far too late. You do not owe the people who hurt you unlimited access to your life, just because they call themselves family. Real family isn't built on guilt. Real family isn't built on fear. Real family isn't built on "what can you do for us?" Real family is built on reciprocity, respect, and responsibility. Harper didn't destroy her family. She ended a system where her worth was measured in invoices and auto-pay receipts. She learned that boundaries are not cruelty, they are clarity. By choosing herself, she didn't become selfish. She became free, and her ending wasn't explosive or vengeful. It was quiet, steady, earned. A life where her paycheck belonged to her. A life where family emergency no longer meant Harper will fix it. A life where silence finally meant peace, not punishment. Harper didn't just take her power back, she remembered it was hers all along. Final message for listeners: if Harper's story feels familiar, hear this. You are not unloving for protecting your peace. You are not selfish for setting boundaries. And you are not alone in walking away from people who only show up when they need something. Family is not who drains you. Family is who stands with you. If this story hit home, share your experience in the comments. Your voice matters here.